I think we're ready to get going.
Okay, perfect. So this is the same that we had. Perfect. So welcome everyone. So today we are going to talk about choosing e-learning tools wisely. And why we are doing this session is because we are overwhelmed with all the tools that we are exposed now, especially with online learning. Things have been changing. So basically now we wanted to share with you a tool that we adapted and Cash and I have been using for some time, and we want to make you part of this process. Okay, so we're gonna talk about these more in depth in the next slides. So thank you for joining us today. So I'm here with Cash Clifton, and my name is Montserrat Ollanedel, and I'm very excited to be here with you and I hope you're ready to participate because this is a hands-on learning session. So you're gonna be using the tool that we adapted, right, Cash?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm so excited to be here with you today.
Yes, definitely. Glad to have you.
Awesome. So let's keep going. And today we have a little pool. So we're going to start the activity. Remember that your screen is going to look a little different. So these are the results.
So if you'll please click in Nearpod and tell us where you're from.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Everybody from Albuquerque?
No, everybody's from southeastern New Mexico.
Southeastern New Mexico, right? I'm looking at that now. Good. This is awesome. Well,
I've lived 80% of my life in that part of the state. So
I was confused. I was like, what?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you. That's great. So this is one of the ways that you can use Nearpod very well and engage your participants. So I'm gonna just keep going. So now we have a little connection activity, and I'm gonna allow you to use this. So I'm gonna put just this. So what we want to know is what apps and e-learning tools do you currently use? Which one are you using now and you love? And please, if you can just share with us, what are your favorite tools that you are using? Google Suite. Great, Nancy. Thank you for that. And I'm gonna. Perfect. We have two. Nancy, which one do you love the most? Maybe you can share with Cash there. Which one are you the ones that you are loving from all the G Suite, right? There are so many. Oh, Guillermo too. G Suite, Nearpod, and NRock tools. That's great, Guillermo. I'm glad to hear that.
Guillermo, I'm excited to hear you say Nearpod too.
Yeah, we want to hear all about it too at some point. That would be great. Okay, we have another one. Oh, Nancy, Google Classroom, Google Hangouts, and Google Meet. Outstanding. That's great. Awesome. That's fantastic. Okay. So do we have anybody else, Cash, on the chat or anything? Should I keep going? You just let me know.
I think we might have one more person, but I think you're good to keep going.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you guys for participating, and we're gonna keep going. So today we're gonna talk about a little bit of the theory, which I don't want you to get bored, but it's important to you to know that this tool has a background, and it's a background that we can apply now. And we want to share that with you. Also, we are going to show you how we took this theory into practice, because we are using a rubric that we adapted, as I mentioned in the beginning. And then we are going to practice, because we really want your feedback and we want people to use this tool to choose applications wisely. So we really want to know your feedback and what you think about that. So again, this is totally a hands-on learning session, and we really hope that you enjoy what we're going to do, because I think it's going to be a great tool to use for your own learning and for your own practices. So let's get with the theory. So the community of inquiry framework is a framework created by Garrison, Anderson, and Archer. And as you see, there are 3 circles, right? We call the framework calls it social presence means. So we have 3 presences. It's social, teaching, and cognitive presence. So this is a framework that promotes a social constructivist learning environment. And I know that sounds very complex, but what it means by that is that we are trying that the students are more active learners, less passive. They actually are they facilitate content and knowledge and participate and bring a lot of experience to the classroom. So basically, that's why we are using this community of inquiry framework, because we want to create educational experiences that are meaningful. So the social presence, if we go to the right, to the left, you will see that this presence is about how real can we make the connections and the learning. Because as you know, online learning sometimes can be seen and can be perceived as not authentic, right? People don't really want to share, they don't want to participate. So basically the social presence talks about how can we have meaningful connections that are real with the teachers and also with our co-workers and students and colleagues, right, and classmates. Then we have the cognitive presence that basically talk about how people learn, right? How they construct knowledge based on reflection, collaboration, their own experiences, background knowledge. And the goal of this cognitive presence is that students improve their spoken and written communication, and they solve problems that are real problems. So they are using the higher order of thinking, verbs or actions. So they are actually using the critical thinking skills and also in learning collaboration. And lastly, we have the teaching presence that is about how teachers and instructors design, facilitate, and how they organize the content. So actually the social presence and the cognitive presence work together to have an outcome, a positive outcome that is actually having a great, meaningful learning experience. So all of this, as you see, they connect and they have these areas. And at the end, they work together. And like I mentioned, the goal is to create an exceptional educational experience in a blended and an online learning setting. So with that said, I want to show you now how we overlap this community of inquiry with e-learning tools. So when we talk about e-learning tools, these are the components that we are looking to find so we can promote and create an educational experience that is meaningful. So as you see, this is the same diagram, and each of them has a criteria. So social presence, we are looking for engagement, collaboration, and tools that allow us to be real. We go to cognitive presence. We are looking at ways of create assessment for students, but also students are applying ideas, connecting, and using the higher order of thinking, and also exchanging information. Lastly, teaching presence. We are using tools that allow us to facilitate content. We can customize that in a way that we still have in our voice as teacher, our teaching style, and then also allow us to create some reports. And as you can see, there are these areas that overlap, and these also are very important when we are trying to find tools. So with that said, we're gonna go to the next slide. And this is what Cash and I came up with when we adapted this rubric. So these are all the criteria that we are looking in a tool based on this framework. And the goal of this tool is to find tools that actually adapt to our learning, teaching and learning style too, but also have the following categories. So this is how, and I'm gonna go to a different, as you can see, a different slide.
And if I can add, I posted that doc link into the Hopin chat. So please don't feel like you have to type that whole mess. It's in
Fantastic.
the
Thank you, Cash. Yeah, and this is how it looks. And I'm going to put it right here. Let me see if I can open it right here. So this is the rubric that you're going to see. Thank you, Cash, for doing that. So we are not, we don't want to spend much time going through each of these, but this is how we adapted this and broke it down to categories and criteria that actually adapt to our learners and also to the population that we are teaching. So if you scroll down, you will see all the criteria and the components that we mentioned before. Okay, but again, I'm not going to spend much time on this because you guys are going to play with this for some time, and we really want to hear from you your feedback and to pay attention if this really works. We love it, actually. Crash and I've been using this tool, and next we're going to show you some examples. So I'm going to go to the next slide. I came back to the Nearpod. So now I'm going to just pass to Cash.
Thank you, Monse. So I'm going to ask with you for you to open a new tab and go with me to tinyurl.com/rubric-er. That stands for Rubric Ed Ready. And so this is where I played around and applied the rubric to a tool that I'm very familiar with, which is Ed Ready. If you'd like, you can also look at your screen on Hopin, and you can see where Monse is in the Ed Ready rubric. I see Nancy and Guillermo in the doc there. I'm not sure if we have any other people or not. Please bear with me. Oh, okay, so there are more people in there. Fantastic. So don't go through this and think of this from the perspective of I know all the answers on things. This was kind of tricky in some places. So Ed Ready, I think I've been working with since 2014 or 2015, and I really had to stop and think about some of this. So on the first page there, you know, just functionality. I think we've all had experiences with programs that are wonderfully easy to use, and the students pick it up pretty quickly. And then I think we've also experienced programs where it's really horrible on the teacher's end because it's just not laid out very well, or it's really horrible on the student's end because it's not laid out very well. So that first piece of functionality in purple there, it's just about how easy is it to use and how good can you use it as a communication tool. And Ed Ready, I did flag some minor concerns because it's not always the most adaptive thing. So please jump into the chat here and hop in if you have any questions or comments or anything. I do have it open on my second screen here. So you keep if you keep scrolling on down to the rubric, if you scroll on down into accessibility, you can see something there. I don't know why I changed that second one to blue. That was a mistake. Right here on user-focused participation, so it made me kind of stop and think, you know, Ed Ready isn't always the best tool in terms of people who are new to English, who struggle with English. So that's why I didn't give it perfect marks on there. But you can see otherwise I gave it perfect marks. I guess it goes to show no tool is perfect. If you scroll down to the blue, there's technical. So like Ed Ready can't integrate into a learning management system. And kind of as I went through and got more comfortable with this tool, I started using the box over on the right and making comments because I do know that's something that they're working on. But then even thinking about things like operating system, browser, you know, Ed Ready isn't the best in Internet Explorer and Internet Edge sometimes. That kind of thing. You scroll on down into the gray mobile design. I don't think that's as much of an issue now as it was, like, say, 5 to 10 years ago. But that is still something to think about because I think a lot of us have had those students where they can only use a mobile device, a phone, or maybe a tablet to access their work. And if you have something that doesn't work on a mobile device, that can be a real issue in terms of equitability. Monsafe, you can scroll on down to privacy, data, protection, and rights. If you scroll along in the doc itself, that's great too. This one took me a minute. I had to really think about this, and I'm not sure I had thought about all these things before. So that I just found that very interesting. Sometimes that stuff can be pretty buried. Social presence, that I think kind of speaks for itself. Is there collaboration, but then can you hold users accountable? So EdReady, for example, you can see there, I think on collaboration, it's a little weak because it's very much an individual program for the student to work alone, at least the way I use it anyway. But it's great for holding users accountable. If I'd done this a year ago, I might not feel the same.
And Cash, can I say something about that?
Of course.
Yeah, I think the accountability part, it really has phenomenal. I mean, I love phenomenal reports. I think they are easy to understand. So in a way, I agree with you here completely, because the reports are outstanding. I like them a lot, and the students understand them. When maybe they could be a little confused at first, but because they use visuals like colors and the dots, I think it's a great tool in that case. I love it. I wanted to say that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. And so maybe you want to use this tool where I'm going to start typing over on the right here. And so maybe you want to put comments in here if you're doing like a team approach to this kind of thing in docs. You can tag people here. So I'll make a note that reports can be challenging at first, but are ultimately very user friendly. So the idea is to kind of make this your own. And then teaching presence, can you customize it? Right here, feedback can be a little bit weak in EdReady. It's if I want to talk with a student about a specific problem, I need to go outside of EdReady to do that. So that's why I give it a mark in the middle. But otherwise, on customization and learning analytics, I give it very high scores. And then down at the bottom, last but certainly not least, is cognitive presence. Is this doing any higher order thinking, or is the tool just a lot of regurgitation and a lot of memorization, more basic things, which, don't get me wrong, sometimes has its place in certain contexts. So just lots of things to think about in here. So are there any questions about the rubric? And if there are, please type them and hop in.
In the meantime, I'm going to come back to the presentation. Okay, so I'm going to go back to Nearpod.
And I'll be monitoring the chat for questions in the background.
Perfect. Any questions so far, Cash?
No questions so far. Okay. So we allowed 10 to 20 minutes for this piece. So I would like to encourage you to go in and apply the rubric to a tool that maybe you're interested in or that you've used before. And so these are some we suggested. Maybe you disagree with me on some of the stuff in EdReady. I would be really interested to see your thoughts on that, or these other tools. So we're going to give you some kind of workshop time.
Yes, and we want to hear your feedback too. That's the thing that I was mentioning in the beginning. Cash and I love this rubric, and we've been changing it. So now we really want to hear your feedback. Maybe we really want to adapt it and make it work. So feel free to use it and give us your feedback. So I'm going to go to the next slide so you guys have access to the rubric. This is an activity where you have to draw, right, Cash?
Yes.
Okay, so we took 15 minutes there just as a baseline. It could be, we could go longer, but you will have access to a PDF. Very soon.
Yes, so there's a, if you go back to the Nearpod tab, the PDF is available. You also have the link to the doc in the chat if you would like to make a copy of that doc and work that way. And if you're having any technical difficulties, please let us know in the hop-in chat.
Thank you, Cash. And I saw some people also that they just were checking the document. So if you want to get into Nearpod, also use the chat. Cash can help you to access, but that's the code. It's right here. So if you want to participate, it will be great. We will appreciate your feedback too. And right here on the top left is the, I'm going to click it one more time so you can see the code to access to the Nearpod presentation and actually have access to the rubric as well.
And if you do have any questions or comments or anything, again, please feel free to use the hop-in chat. You can also click on the blue button on the top of your screen and request permission to share audio or video. We would love to hear from you if you have any questions or comments.
Yes, this is a small group, so we would love to, if you need any help processing or questions, just go ahead. We are excited we are looking on the screen and you guys are doing great. This is awesome. Thank you for your participation. So Cash, do we have any comments in the chat? I see some people that submitted.
The only comment we have in the chat is Guillermo is trying to share his mic, and I cannot figure out.
Oh yeah, well this is a new. Thank you, Guillermo. We are learning with you how to use this app, right? Hoping it's new to us as well. So
That's like word for word what I just said.
oh really?
Just so everybody know, Monse is the presenter. Unfortunately, cannot see the chat.
No, that's why. But I think I'm so blessed to have Cash because it's like I feel like we are in a living room talking about this. So it feels so good. Thank you, Cash. So any comments, Guillermo? I think Nancy also submitted your responses. Do you guys went through the whole rubric already? Yes. Do you have any
So let's see. So Nancy couldn't see the whole rubric. Nancy, let me put in the link for the Google Doc.
So maybe this is a good comment to ask, Cash, because we put the PDF and maybe didn't put all the pages, right? This is good to know as well. That could be the problem.
Yeah, that could be the problem. So Nancy, there's a link to the Google Doc. If you'd like, you can just create a copy of that. Oh, that's fine, Guillermo. We were just giving you some time to so once Guillermo said that he understands what we need to do, it will just take time to get it done. And so we're giving you this 10 minutes to work on it. And yeah, I'm assuming this is just going to be time to get started.
Yeah, and again, we just want for you to try it out, and that's why we're giving you the time, because honestly, we really want your guys' feedback to see what you think about this tool. Because as I mentioned, Cash and I liked it, and we are always improving it, right, Cash?
Yeah. So this is a tool that was published to Open Commons, and it wasn't really applicable to adult ed. And so what Monse and I have done over the past couple of weeks is we've wordsmithed it and tweaked it and tried to make it more applicable to adult ed because as far as I know, that specific thing doesn't necessarily exist. So if you also have feedback in terms of how the rubric could be made better, we would love to hear that from you too. We have 5 minutes remaining to explore the rubric.
So I think 15 minutes for this activity, Cash, is a very good time, don't you think?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hope you guys tell us if it's a good time for you as well.
So Guillermo typed a question in the chat and said it does make sense to use. Is this something that every teacher needs to do? Is it for the classroom administrator? So my first reaction to that is I don't think it's either. I don't think it's going to be like mandated by anybody. This is just something Montse and I came up with. We based it off of something that already existed, and we also tried to write it from the perspective of we've just learned a lot the hard way over the past few years as far as what to look for in apps and things like that. And so that's really what it is. And there's probably room for improvement.
Well said, Cash. And the point is, Guillermo, is that as we mentioned, a lot of it, there are so many tools, and sometimes, Nearpod, for example, has so many applications, and instead of using that many tools, you can choose just one to make it clear, right? Because sometimes you are using so many apps and so many programs. So our goal is to actually streamline some of the technology e-tools and then choose just a few that could provide you more support than just so many, because the students are confused. I don't know if you guys have that problem, but sometimes my students are like, hey teacher, this is like too many, right? So we are trying just to simplify it and also use some criteria based on a framework that works for online learning, embedded learning, that is best practices. So yes, it could be for, I think anyone could use it. So we have 30 seconds.
And then Montse, Erin shared that her students are the same, and great point.
Yeah, my students are overwhelmed. I mean, they feel sometimes, because I'm excited about technology, I forget, that they also get challenged and it's hard. So I have to, like, as a teacher, it's a good reflection to me. It's like, hey, slow down, just a few tools and make them work right. So that's why we wanted to do something like this as well. I don't know, Cash, if you have the same problem.
Yeah, and I mean, let's be real. There's times that when Montse and I are together, our coworkers have to tell us, "Hey, step it back. This is a lot to take in." So
yeah.
Keep it simple. So Guillermo shared, you hit a great point. We need to keep tools simple for this.
Yes, and that's the goal. So Guillermo, I and Nancy, we will appreciate really, like, if you think this could be helpful for teachers as well to use, because that's the point. Let's make it simple, make it meaningful, and just use best practices in the classroom. So good job, you guys. Great conversation. I'm gonna keep going with the presentation. And also, this is also a good idea to use. As you see, Nearpod, again, has so many tools already that you don't need to use extra applications. The thing is, how can we make it better? So let's go to the next slide. So now we are getting to the end of the presentation. And this is a little question. Cash, you want to lead this question?
Yeah, so if you can please go back to your Nearpod tab. We'd like to know your top takeaway and but what about? So what's at least one thing you're taking away from this presentation, and do you have any unanswered questions? And we can probably give you about a minute for this because unfortunately we are running close to the end on time.
And we have some messages and information to share with you. So Guillermo has a very good point. Yeah, how to apply the tool now. So of course, get practice. So my advice, Guillermo, and I would love for you, if you have the time and really want to help us, we will appreciate that you try to evaluate a few tools and see really how the rubric works, right? If it really is good or not, and if it helps you to streamline and have quality tools for your instruction. And Nancy, okay, that's good too. That's good too. Also keep it simple, but at some point things will get, when students get more comfortable, it's always good for everyone to have new tools. And if you want to integrate anything, we would love to hear your feedback by using the rubric. So Carson, you think it's a good idea to every time you find a new tool, maybe use a rubric to see if really will work? What do you think about that?
Maybe even just parts of the rubric. If you know what you're going to use the tool for, I don't know that you have to go through every rubric every time. And Erin typed in the chat, she's sorry she came in a little late, but we've talked her into using Nearpod a bit more, not being frightened by it. So that's wonderful. And Monse and I are doing a couple of Nearpod presentations later this afternoon.
Yeah, we would love to have you there.
Unfortunately, we are at the end on time. So Monse, if you could, thank you very much. So we would ask that you do the evaluation for Nemea. We have a link for that on the next slide, correct?
Yes. Oh, we have a few things to share with you before. We're gonna go very fast. So join us in the workplace that New Mexico and MDL has. If you have already an MDL email, you can join us. We would love to hear from you. And Cash, you want to say this very fast? I know we don't have more time. Sorry about that.
Yeah, please be sure you fill out the professional development questionnaire for Tina. That's very, very helpful as far as the direction things are heading in. I think all of you were in the motivational coaching course. Bravo. So I don't have a whole lot to say about that piece. But we are doing it
so now, yes, thank you, Cash, for that. And then please fill out this evaluation. You will have it on your phone or your computer. So we looking forward to hear your feedback and improve this session. Thank you for joining us today.
Yes, thank you so much. And it looks like the next round of webinars will begin at 2:05.
2:05. Okay.
8 minutes.
Perfect. So thank you, Cash. We'll see you in 40 minutes for our next Nearpod Slam. Okay. Bye, you guys. Thank you.